Okay, great. Thanks. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Vanessa and Hannah, for organising the conference. Where have you gone? Oh, you're over there. And thanks for all the speakers that have already spoken. It's very convenient to be going last because I've had time to process all the wonderful information that you've shared and somehow slightly change my presentation accordingly. I want to start with just a very quick video that kind of sums up some of the problems I'm trying to address in this talk. It's from a Canadian TV show, not an unusual one. Is there any way I can shut these lights off at the front so that you can see this better? Is that possible? Yeah, that would be good. This is a fairly typical attempt to try and represent voodoo in a better light in terms of mainstream media. So this was from 2008 in Canada. It's very typical kind of.
A Haitian film festival wrapped up in Montreal last week, and the festival opened up a controversial yet fascinating debate within the community about voodoo. Some consider voodoo to be an actual religion, but others call it witchcraft. Deborah Arbeck investigates.
To the uninitiated, images like these represent darkness, witchcraft, blasphemy. But for those who practice Haitian voodoo, that's the Hollywood version.
Yes, there's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of misunderstanding within the culture itself.
Haiti has many different religions, and many, even within the Haitian community, think voodoo isn't one of them. An exhibit at Mosaic Art on Saint-Laurent is aiming to show it is.
It's only the beginning of a movement of opening the conversations, opening the communication on voodoo, demystifying, explaining.
The exhibit presents voodoo art in all of its color and controversy. And if you're lucky, you'll meet a voodoo priestess.
Hi, my name is Labelle Diaz Jr., and I'll introduce you to my mother, which is Labelle Diaz Sr.
Labelle Diaz Jr. grew up in Haiti and now serves the spirits in Montreal.
I was raised in voodoo. As a little child, my mother has always been serving the spirits.
There is one God and many spirits. They're called upon during trance-like ceremonies where they're said to enter a human body, answering pleas for health, prosperity, whatever's needed. It all begins with a veve.
We would call that a veve. That's the first ritual we would do for any type of ceremony that we would do, by letting the spirit know that we're about to start a ceremony, and we're letting them know we need their presence here.
The altars are decorated with items that might have pleased spirits before they passed on. As a French colony, Catholicism was forced onto African slaves in Haiti.
We had no choice to combine the Catholics with our own culture so we don't get killed.
Slave rebels would eventually win Haiti's independence.
The first thing that we did in 1791 was had a ceremony in Wakaima. And from that ceremony, that's when everything started.
Today, many liken strong images like this to devil worship.
It's just the spirit of death that we're all going to go through eventually, and we need to embrace it. So when it does come, we have nothing to fear.
Labelle Diaz says true practitioners don't use voodoo for evil.
We don't use voodoo dolls with pens to hurt or harm. That's one thing voodoo does not allow, is harm.
See for yourself. The exhibit runs through October 11th. Deborah Arbeck, CTV News.
Okay, great. So I just use that as an example. It's a fairly typical example of the way in which the mainstream media tries to present a more sober or sensible picture of Haitian voodoo, while at the same time always having to play up the slightly stereotypical aspects of voodoo, which it's also claiming to question. So that's kind of what my own research has been about for a long time. The kind of culmination of many years' research was my book was published a while back, Brandade Uprising, which looked at representations of voodoo and Haiti in popular culture, sensationalist images, and recontextualized those images in the historical context in which they were made. So I used these negative representations to look at what was actually, to tell a story about Haiti and what was actually going on in Haiti in terms of international foreign policy, the internal politics of Haiti, etc., etc. It's like a double-level narrative. At the same time, that's sort of what I learned from writing that book and looking very closely at how these stereotypes, largely racist stereotypes since the revolution, were constructed, is that one of the mysterious effects of looking at stereotypes and trying to demythologize them is that you end up perpetuating them. And that's something that I found with this book. For instance, even the cover had to be redesigned because the publishers wanted something that spoke more about the sensationalist representations than, you know, the sober representation. So this is a kind of ambivalence you get yourself into when you try to look at these complex stereotypes. Just a little bit about the zombie complex that I talk about. It's very straightforward. When one traces a zombie figure from Haiti to contemporary representations of the zombie, you find there are two very, what I call, two crucial figures which are mutually opposed but can be traced back. I mean, I trace these back through looking at the narratives, stories of copycat effects in terms of horror films, where people are told to, it's alleged that if people see certain images, they copy those images. When you trace that narrative back, you find a very particular set of tropes, what I call remotely controlled agents without autonomy. Two zombie figures. One is the remotely controlled somnambulist figure, the idea of someone who's been raised from the dead and controlled by a bokor or an external agent. And the other is the completely wild, apocalyptic cannibal figure, which I think has its roots in representations of the Haitian Revolution. That's the thesis of the book. But there's been an ongoing debate around voodoo and the nature of voodoo since at least the 19th century, late 19th century and before, which my book traces the history of. I don't want to get too much into that there, but that's why I'm interested in countering stereotypes and the use of, potentially use of Web 2.0 or the internet and smartphones to do that. This research really in my practice is related very close to the Ghetto Biennale, which Leah is the curator of here, which I got involved in 2009. And I've always tried to work in some sort of like collaborative way or joint way with artists from Haiti. During the first Ghetto Biennale, I also worked with someone called Cameron Broman, and he's a very important figure who I'll talk about later. He was doing a project called Brandade, where he was trying to work, he created a workshop for children in City Soleil, where they made these toy tap-taps that they were selling to wealthy collectors in America, and using the money, the revenue gains, to send the kids to school, etc. It was a kind of philanthropic, for-profit project. And Cameron's very clear that you need to create ventures which actually bring revenue into Haiti, and I'm very inspired by Cameron in this regard. Cameron was in fact initiated into voodoo in Habitation-Leclerc under the supervision of Catherine Dunham. When I was working for Cameron trying to create a film to promote the Slum Toys project, I gave the camera to a young man from the Grand Rue area called Alex Louis, so he could film. I just gave the camera to him and said, you film. This was at the same time that during the Ghetto Biennale, there was a group of young men who had a pretend camera crew called Tele Ghetto, and they went around filming the entire event. It was the most inspiring artwork of the Ghetto Biennale 1. What happened was, though, unfortunately, shortly after the first Ghetto Biennale, the earthquake struck, and we had made very good connections with people in Haiti. And what I did then was to send a camera to the young guys from Tele Ghetto guys, so that they could film their life after the earthquake with a camera and turn their imaginary TV crew into a real one. These videos were put on YouTube. This was a very early example of like how you bypass the mainstream media. It seemed crazy to me to be relying on what we now call legacy media to represent life in Haiti when we could just use video cameras and YouTube. And this was a long time, it's just 10 years ago, so things have advanced since then. So I've always been interested in the way we can use the new technology to create collaborative, mutual narratives about life inside and outside Haiti, which don't depend on any kind of whiteness of our gaze or our internal, whatever ideological structures we impose. Give the means over and create mutual platforms for creating work. What I did with the Tele Ghetto films was I showed them in a school in the East End of London, Morpeth, the secondary school. We invited artist resistance artists to work with the students, and we got the students to make work in the artist resistance style. In 2011, I filmed the making of a second sign for Tele Ghetto, which was then put on the Evel's tap-tap, Tele Ghetto with their camera and their poster. This was then filmed and shown to students at Morpeth School again. They then saw how to make banners. They made their own banner. This was called the Art Power banner. They learned about Haiti through the video. And the general idea was to create this international cross-cultural exchange using very basic media. And it ended up in a show in the school. This is one of Cameron's new projects. His company is now called Brandtrade. And what they've tried to do is create a brand. And they literally tried to rebrand voodoo.
Something happened a long time ago in Haiti. They got together and swore a pact to the devil. They said, we will serve you if you'll get us free from the French. It's a true story.
Voodoo. Although it is actually a Haitian religion of peace, it has been manipulated and bastardized by many in the Western world. Zombies, voodoo dolls, evil curses, but all this is a lie. A lie created by Hollywood that has literally scared the world away from Haiti, adding to the extreme poverty and hardship of the Haitian people. The Brandade project wanted to do something. They wanted to work with the brilliant Haitian artisans to help them sell their creations around the world. Our idea for Brandade was simple. If we begin to rebrand voodoo itself, people would see the art and culture of Haiti in an entirely new way. We needed to lay bare the astonishing beauty of the real voodoo for the world to see. Introducing Voodoo Nouveau. First, we spelt voodoo the original Haitian way. We then introduced the symbol for Legba, the voodoo spirit of understanding. From this, an intricate logo was born with voodoo tradition right at its core. We added color as vibrant as the Haitian spirit itself. We created a complete visual identity for Voodoo Nouveau to turn people's perceptions of the old religion inside out. Voodoo Nouveau gave us the opportunity to showcase voodoo-inspired product designs in a surprisingly contemporary way while staying true to ancient voodoo philosophy. This new brand would be the cornerstone in launching an entirely new collection of Haitian artisan products to the Western world, taking it from Port-au-Prince all the way to the UK's leading retailer, Selfridges. Voodoo Nouveau, old spirits, new beauty.
Now, this may not be a great idea. Well, people have different ideas about it, but it certainly was an attempt to create a more positive image of voodoo and to create commercial outlets for artisan crafts from Haiti that would create permanent revenue streams for Haitian craftspeople, so that this was a for-profit, money-generating project, which I think is something we haven't spoken about in terms of commerce and money, but it's a hugely important thing that Leah and I have learned from being involved in the Ghetto Biennale. People need to earn money. People want their art to not only be significant and culturally valuable, but to actually make them a living. This is Cameron promoting a Voodoo Nouveau with Axel Liatot, who makes these sequin bottles. So there are other examples. This is why I wanted to bring this image up, actually, because the video that I first showed with the Mambos, these are now, Cameron is very keen on recreating the voodoo tours that used to happen in Haiti, bringing people back to Haiti, bringing revenue to communities, positivizing the image of voodoo and the experience of voodoo. And there are now companies like La Belle de Esterial, who's the person and her mother that were shown in the video, who now people are going and get initiated. Hunzi Kanzos, you can go and be initiated into voodoo. Now, I know people at Konesans and the Haitian Studies Society, there's all sorts of questions around this, which would just say are problematic. But at the same time, I'm very interested in how the internet offers possibilities for opening up communication, teaching us more about the realities of voodoo, us and everybody else, and also creating means of collaboration and cooperation between artists and educators and cultural activists, both here and in Haiti. And one of the most amazing channels I've come across for doing this quite modestly and without a great fuss is Math Jerome's Voodoo Connection, which is this incredible collection of voodoo ceremonies filmed without editing. For me, this is the most authentic archive of voodoo ceremonial documentation that I've ever come across. There are 70 videos here, many of which are over an hour long, showing full initiation ceremonies, unedited. So this material is already out there on the internet. We could be working with it. We could be teaching through it. We could be using the internet much more effectively than I think we are. Ultimately, what I'm saying is that what I felt about this community that have gathered here is that we're all working to make Haiti more widely known and understood, and that includes the religion of voodoo, I would assume. Big question is, who are we speaking and working for? Who are we trying to communicate to? Are we trying to communicate to a wider European public to learn more about Haiti and voodoo, or do we want to also communicate to publics in Haiti? Is that also who we're communicating about what we do? What opportunities does the internet and smartphone technology make available for creative collaborations between Haitians and their colleagues in Europe? And how can these be integrated with educational initiatives? It's very important for us not to think for Haitians, but with Haitians when we do this. And that's my presentation. Thanks.